You must stop buying sauerkraut. I've managed to make this much sauerkraut for the same cost of a tub from the supermarket. And look how much the difference is. I can't believe this.
Have you ever thought about how much you're actually paying for store-bought sauerkraut? Let me put it into perspective. Here at my local supermarket, one pot of non-organic sauerkraut in a plastic tub costs a whopping £4.75. Compare that to the amount of organic cabbages that you can get for the same price of that single tub. It's actually mind-blowing.
It does get you wondering what you're actually paying for when you're buying shop-bought sauerkraut. Is it the plastic packaging? Is it the branding or some fancy marketing campaign? Some of them do have additional flavors in the ingredients, but the bulk of the recipe generally for sauerkraut is cabbage, of course, and that's what it translates to. So I'm gonna see how much sauerkraut I can actually make with all of these beautiful organic cabbages, which cost the same price as a single tub. This is gonna be exciting. The truth is though, it's not just about saving money making your own sauerkraut. For me, I get so much joy and satisfaction out of being totally in control of where my food is coming from, the cooking process, the fermentation, and then being able to serve it up to friends and family and they all enjoy it. It gives you that little pat on the back and you feel like you've got a badge of self-sufficiency honor. And the other thing, many of the store-bought sauerkrauts are actually pasteurized too, which kills off the live probiotics that make sauerkraut so beneficial for our gut health. All right, let's settle this. I'm gonna make my own sauerkraut with these cabbages. First, I'll chop the outer leaves and shred each cabbage really fine, removing and composting the core. It all gets added to a big mixing bowl, ready for the next step. Oh gosh, guys, that was a lot of chopping. My hand has gone pretty achy after all that, but that just goes to show, look how much shredded cabbage I've now got for the same price of a jar of shop-bought sauerkraut. That is nuts. Wow. Now this makes the next task quite difficult because I need to massage 2% of the cabbage's weight in sea salt. So we need to add 2% of the cabbage's weight in sea salt, then massage the two together. So what I think I'm gonna do, because there's such a colossal amount, I'm gonna transfer some of this to another mixing bowl and just massage the two together separately. Then once it's all broken down, we'll mix the two back together and then we're gonna let it sit for a couple of hours for all of the natural brine to be pulled out of the cell walls of the cabbage. And that's the all-important brine that is used during fermentation. I've got some cabbage in, I got cabbage everywhere, man. It's in my beard as well. 4,718. All right, you can start, yeah. All right, so what we're trying to do is squeeze out all the water. The salt's gonna help us bring out that, and it's gonna create a natural brine, which is essential for fermentation. Creates an oxygen-free environment, so everything will be beneath that brine. So after massaging, we will cover this and let it sit for 2 hours for all that brine to come out. That looks perfect, man, thank you for that. So we'll mix these together now that they've broken down, and then I'm gonna let it sit for about 2 hours for all that brine to be released, and then we can get it into our jars.
Homemade sauerkraut is alive, it's vibrant, and it's loaded with probiotics, plus vitamin C and K, and antioxidants that will support your immune system. Sauerkraut actually has a fascinating history. When I was doing my research, I couldn't believe that it originated in ancient China, but it makes sense because most really tasty things come from that part of the world. In ancient China, cabbage was fermented in rice wine to get people through the harsh winters, and this fermented dish became a staple as well in Europe. It was actually prized by sailors for its ability to prevent scurvy.
So I dropped out of school at age just 16 to become a chef. I had no plan B whatsoever, just this desire to work with food, work in the kitchens, because that's where I felt I belonged. And here I am years later, holding something that was just a thought that has become reality now. This is my new book, plant to plate. It's moments like this that remind me our thoughts shape our reality. What we nurture in our minds, our dreams, our skills, our intentions will grow. This book is a way of seeing food differently, a way of working with nature and not against it. Inside you'll learn not only how to cook, but my growing tips, fermentation, foraging, herbalism, preservations, stories from my homestead, and how to truly understand ingredients. I hope this takes you on a journey of turning just simple vegetables into something alive through cooking over fire, through fermentation and time and patience. So it will mean the absolute world to me if you can support me on this journey by ordering the book. You can pre-order it now and it's out end of May, early June. So please grab a copy. Hopefully it will transform your cooking and your connection to food. Thank you. So there is one beautiful full jar of sauerkraut. Now this is plain flavor, of course. All we added is salt to the cabbage. That will be tasty because during fermentation, it's going to take on this real sort of almost umami, tangy flavor. But what I'm going to add to the rest of this is just some dried spices. You can add pretty much anything you like. I'm going to go for some fennel seeds and some caraway seeds in this one, but add things like turmeric or paprika or cinnamon. Something really pungent and aromatic works great with just simple cabbage.
When you're filling up your jars, it's really important to pack everything down as tightly as possible, keeping it submerged beneath that all-important brine. This is an oxygen-free environment where the all-important lactobacillus bacteria will thrive.
We've got it. We've got 2 massive jars of kraut here. I can't tell you how many servings are in these 2 together. A lot for sure. This will probably last me till all the way in spring when I've started growing my own cabbages. So this is going to be a good winter survival food for sure. Now, I did overfill these slightly, but I was just trying to cram as much in. I didn't want to have another jar on the go. All that there's left to do now is to cap the sauerkraut off with the excess outer leaves of the cabbage. I just cut them into a rough circle shape, pot them on top. That will stop anything floating up. And then to secure everything down, I place a glass fermentation weight onto each one. The jars are then sealed. I label them up and I'll put them in my fermentation cabinet. I'll put them both on plates because they are slightly overfilled, and the plate will just catch any brine that spills out if it gets really bubbly during fermentation. Haha, now is the time, the moment of truth. I've been waiting for this day. I'm really excited and intrigued to see how much sauerkraut I've managed to produce for the same cost that it takes to buy a jar from the supermarket. First up, let's see how this looks on the plate once it's been opened. So that is the supermarket sauerkraut. It actually smells really good. This is a good sauerkraut, so not too bad in terms of smell, but in terms of quantity, let's see how much mine produces. Oh, nice little fizz as well. The bubbles are a sign of great fermentation. So we'll just peel back that cap and get this out. Well, it smells and looks absolutely beautiful. The perfect kraut right now. So let's get it onto the plate. I feel like I'm going to need a bigger plate for all this. Oh, there's actually so much because it was compacted in so well, which is essential for when making sauerkraut. But it just means that as it comes out, it's just going to get bigger and expand more and more. So it may only look like 2 big jars, but really there's a lot in here. So we've already overtaken the supermarket sauerkraut, and there's still a lot to go. Wow. This is crazy. I can't even get it all out. Oh, it's a mountain. It's a mountain of sauerkraut. All right, well, this is silly because it's not all gonna fit on this plate, but it just already is showing how much you can get for your money when you make it yourself. This is unbelievable. All right, guys, I think this is the last. Oh my God, it's toppling down. Okay, there we have it. It's just about holding its own, but that is how much sauerkraut you can make for the same price that it costs to buy a shop bought tub. Look at what you can produce when you do it yourself. Unbelievable. I'm absolutely blown away by this scale of difference. There must be about 10 to 15 times more sauerkraut made at home by me in comparison to the shop bought. I could weigh this, but you know, you can see it with your own eyes. This is unbelievable. I am going to give both a taste test now. I'm expecting both to be really good because, you know, this is a nice sauerkraut, but let's give it a taste. This has got no other flavorings but the salt, and in one of the jars, of course, we added the fennel and the caraway. Let's see how they've impacted the sauerkraut. It's so dense as well. Okay, that's a nice big mouthful. First things first, great crunch, which is what I like in sauerkraut. A lovely tangy sort of sweetness too. Touch of saltiness, but the tanginess is there from that fermentation. I had a couple of caraway and fennel seeds within that mouthful, which adds a nice aniseedy flavor. But all in all, a very simple, very clean, and a very delicious and probiotic rich sauerkraut there, homemade. Now let's try the shop bought one. That's good sauerkraut too, really tasty. They've got the additional flavors of garlic, dill, and dill. So, you know, they do help add that sort of more of a floral and sort of pickly flavor. But all in all, the majority of that kraut is cabbage. Really, they both taste really good. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I made my one at home and I would go for more of that cleaner flavor. So, guys, the moral of the story is stop buying sauerkraut, especially in plastic containers. That is probably only 5 to 10 servings, and make your own at home for the same cost that will keep you supplied for months on end. And of course, you can get experimental with the flavorings. This is just a very basic version. But if making sauerkraut at home isn't quite possible for you, then please do not worry. There's still great choices out there. Look for unpasteurized jars, ideally in glass, from a local artisan producer. Many small-scale makers not only stick to traditional methods that preserve the live probiotics, but they also get really creative with their flavors. By choosing a locally made product, you're not only doing something great for your gut, but you're also supporting a small business and reducing the environmental footprint of your purchase. I firmly believe that adding fermented food like sauerkraut to your diet is a total game changer. There's so many benefits to it. Not only does it taste good, but it's good for your gut health. But for me, I got into fermentation because I was getting a glut of produce from growing my own food. So you may have that too, or you may have found like a deal at the supermarket for some cabbages, and you can then preserve them and turn them into something special like sauerkraut, and it will last you months to come, but it also makes great gifts too. So whether you decide to make it at home or you support a local small artisan producer, just make sure that you get some fermentation in your life. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon with a new video. And if you want more recipes and more fermentation tips and beautiful dishes, then check out my new book, Plant to Plate, which you can pre-order now.